They offered us a chance to become wildland firefighters on the National Guard side, and I wanted to be able to step up and help the communities when wildfires threatened us. The National Guard responds when there are large-scale emergencies, so having us trained and able to respond to wildfires that threaten buildings and structures and lives and lands is hugely important.
So over the last week, what we've been doing is really working with the Forest Service to develop additional capabilities and capacity with the Kansas National Guard when it comes to wildland firefighting. We focused on 4 different initiatives, one being the ground crew / ground support and doing red card qualification. Also, we've been focused on the aerial suppression piece along with brush truck capabilities and then also water tender capabilities. And it's really about supporting our local fire departments and bringing additional capabilities that are value added when we have wildland fires here in Kansas. It is new to Kansas where we're looking at being a multi-hazard state. We have the floods, the tornadoes, and then the wildland fires and other threats that come to Kansas. After the 2016-2017 wildland fires, this is an area that we wanted to look at and really figure out from the National Guard standpoint, how do we work with our interagency partners and how do we better serve our Kansas citizens and be able to bring capabilities when we do have wildland fires that are out of control and exceed the local capabilities resources and be able to come in and assist. Really, it's been the interagency coordination that's occurred from the Kansas Division of Emergency Management, the Forest Service, the Fire Marshal's Office, and the Kansas National Guard. Really, with everything that we've done, it's been a collaborative effort to identify, what capabilities do we want to expand, how do we do that, and then really building a training event that helps validate those capabilities, move them from a concept actually to an actual capability that's deployable, and really preparing for next fire season, making sure that if we do have an active fire season, we're ready to go. Okay. So talking to the soldiers, they're excited about this. This is who we are as the Kansas National Guard. We build readiness and lethality for the warfight, but we also build readiness and proficiency to protect our families here in Kansas. That starts right here in Kansas in our local communities, so we want to be prepared. They're excited to look at wildland fires. A lot of these guardsmen already volunteer with their local fire departments, or they're really full-time fire, work for the fire departments full-time. So at this point, they're excited about being a part of this and then really expanding our capabilities here in Kansas from a Guard standpoint. Now that's a great question. When you look at wildland fires and what does the Kansas National Guard have to offer, we have a lot to offer and we're continuing to expand that. Again, working with our interagency partners, looking at how we can provide value to those local fire departments. Some of the key things that we're looking at is the aerial suppression. That's something we've done in the past with our U-860 and Bambi bucket operations, but also expanding that to our ground support. A lot of our fire departments, they rely on local volunteers. It's harder and harder to get those volunteers. We got a lot of manning in the Kansas National Guard. We can come in and augment those volunteers and help them out in that way. Additionally, with our capabilities, we're also looking at the water tender. You can never have enough water when it comes to fighting fires. And through the water tender, we can move water closer to the fire and be able to help fill the local fire department's apparatus and keep them putting more water on fire. In addition to that, we're also looking at expanding our brush truck capability where we can come in with a Humvee platform or really just a off-road vehicle that has a 300-gallon skid tank with additional water and provide an additional capability to those local fire departments that may be limited on their brush truck capabilities. Now, I just want to, really touch on the integrated multi-agency partnership. This is really an interagency training event. We couldn't do it without the Forest Service and their expertise, along with expanding the capabilities. They came and they've helped shape some of the things that we're doing and providing that expertise to make sure that we're getting the right equipment. So when we do get out to the local fire departments, we are bringing things that are going to be needed and they are going to add value, and then we can integrate and be right there along with our local fire departments and help with wildland firefighting.
We are out here working with our partnership with the National Guard, building their capabilities, training them to be able to respond to wildfires throughout the state, to assist departments in their time of need when they need additional resources.
Okay.
It's going great. We're actually doing some hands-on stuff today, a little live fire later on this afternoon, giving them some real-life experiences of that they can take with them when they get deployed throughout the state to help out. They're totally receptive. They're actually, a lot of them are really excited about this capability that they're going to be able to help out with the state. Asking lots of questions and tapping into the Forest Service and our expertise that we gather from responding out throughout the nations and bringing that expertise to our home state. And so they're doing a really good job of accepting it and learning and building that skill set that they can bring to the communities and the local fire departments that need their help and when we have these bigger fires.
Okay.
Well, anytime that you can build a bigger force, especially for wildland fire, to help out when we have these devastating fires, I think it's a great opportunity. The National Guard, especially the Kansas National Guard, they want to help people in Kansas, and this is a way that they can help people in Kansas communities to provide a need that is sometimes we don't have the resource capability. So building up that resource to work with a partnership with one another to help on these fires. So being here this week, teaching the 130-190 class to the Guard, I've learned quite a bit of their capabilities. We're up to about 90 students that we are guardsmen that we have taught the 130-190 wildland class. So the number of workforce, boots on the ground that they have is a pretty good number that they can come help out with. Seeing their water tender deliveries, capabilities of being able to bring water to the fires to, help fill up trucks and keep them engaged in the firefight, and obviously their aviation resources and seeing their capabilities that they have.
Okay.
It's awesome having this opportunity, working with the National Guard hand in hand with the Kansas Forest Service and building that relationship. And anytime we can have a good relationship with multiple partners, it benefits the state and our ability to respond to the devastating fires that we have seen in recent years.
Well, really what this capability highlights is another role for the Kansas National Guard to be involved in is really part of that Guard mission of supporting our communities and our state. As a result of the 2016-2017 fires here in Kansas, we kind of looked at that and we determined that there was some things that the Guard could do, a role that they could play. So we started building some additional capability that was non-existent in the Guard, and then increasing that capacity. And what you see here today is really that interagency process today coming together, working with the State Fire Marshal's Office, the Kansas Forest Service, and the Kansas National Guard to really enhance our capability to provide support to those local volunteer fire departments throughout Kansas when they have those days where they could use a little additional resources, some additional capacity, and some additional capabilities that they might not otherwise have. It's really some great training, and so what we're trying to do is give our guardsmen some familiarity with how wildland fire operations operate, and then get them comfortable with the kinds of equipment that they're going to have to deal with, working in an environment that they may not be familiar with. The vast majority of these soldiers and airmen are not firefighters, so we want them to have some training so that they're familiar with it and that they have trust and confidence in their abilities to go out there and actually be able to deal with a fire should they be called.
Yeah. Okay.
This is just kind of a little bit unique for us in the Midwest, and again, it's really trying to find a role for the Kansas National Guard to help our communities in a time of need. And so we had this opportunity, and we really want to provide that capability. And I think from the soldiers and airmen that you talk to, they're very, very excited about being able to participate in this, getting some good training, and hopefully the opportunity when the time arises to be able to go out and really help their fellow citizens in a time of need.
Yeah.
Well, I just say, the one thing that we always stress is that all disasters are local. They start local and they end local, but everything between, we can bring in outside resources. There's other resources locally. There's other resources we can bring in from the state or the federal, but our role really is to support those local first responders, that local incident commander that's out in that county area.
Yes, we started off classroom for a couple days, learning the basic wildland firefighter skills, all classroom. Like I said, learning the basics, the tools, fire behavior, safety, and all that.
Okay.
And then accumulating to today where we're doing the exercise, putting all that to use. So when we do the classroom, we have to do the hands-on portions, what we're doing today. So one of the most important things is the fire shelter. So we do practice runs where we will deploy the fire shelter, getting in the fire shelter and making sure you're facing the right direction that you need to be facing, you're in the location you need to be, and everything is covered up. It's great. They give us the good training. They're the professionals. They're the ones that do this every year. They give us the good training. We get out to the locals. You know, a lot of your local rural departments are small, so when they get a big grass fire or big wildland fire, as they call it, when they need that help, getting us to training to get out to help them, that helps out everybody. And you know, we're here, we're the Guard. That's what we do. We help everybody out in the state, and maybe even outside the state eventually. I've always enjoyed it. I've been in fire for 25 years. I've been a volunteer for 25 years. I've been working full-time for 12 years. It's just an interest I've always had. I love it. I enjoy it. And doing the wildland is just another aspect of firefighting. It gives me an opportunity to get out and help people. It helps us get out away from our home units and our hometowns, and it gives us an opportunity to get out and help the community, not just in our local area, but throughout the state.